Well, one of the biggest industries growing for animal testing is that of vaccine testing on animals, and that has rapidly expanded in the era of COVID. I mean, here's a short clip from one of those places that is actually breeding these animals for testing.
With its rapid spread, it has become a high priority among researchers to develop a coronavirus vaccine, which will not be possible without animal research. Since there is no treatment for the virus, a vaccine could save thousands of lives. Experts have selected a few animal models that can be a great help toward the discovery of a coronavirus vaccine or treatment. First are mice, specifically genetically engineered mice with a human receptor that allows the mice to get infected with the virus as humans do.
Now, in case you missed that, Leilani, in the video was the casual mention of mice that are being genetically altered. They call them humanized mice. They are bred with functioning human genes, cells, tissues and organs, depending on which lab it is, in aid of creating human-style immune responses for things like the COVID vaccine. Now, in other words, these are designer human hybrid mice, which are created essentially for torture and testing. Is this sort of going a step too far, Leilani, as far as talking about whether we're playing God with science? Would you consider that to be even beyond animal testing?
I think so. When you start genetically messing around with animals like that, not splicing genes from humans in or whatever they do to get this hybrid mouse, that to me is way too far. It's not like selective breeding when you start genetically modifying animals that happens, that can happen naturally, or when you put two different mice together. This is almost playing God, and this is to me too far. But look, they're talking about the COVID vaccine, which is very interesting, and talking about testing it on mice. We've seen it tested on people. We've seen the effects of it. And they don't even want to listen to that. They want to completely gaslight people that have had problems with the vaccine. So if they're going to gaslight, what's happened to humans and the human results of this human experiment we've had for the last few years, then what are they going to do with animals? It's just hard for me, because I just don't see that we're going to get anything good from carrying on testing on animals the way that we're doing, and messing around with them, and creating viruses in labs to put into animals to find a vaccine before that virus has ever escaped to the lab. All of these things are actually really dangerous territory. And I think, separate from what's going on in the UK with the breeding of the beagles and the parliamentary debate, we need to also look at that, about creating these viruses and putting them into animals before they've even come out, gain of function research. And I think that's something that really has to be looked at too.
Well, you're actually in agreement with some leading scientists there was a story that came out in January, which we published, about the Chinese scientists in Wuhan, now a different Wuhan lab, but same part of the world. And they had used these humanized mice and created by accident a version of COVID with 100% kill rate. And they called it the zombie virus because it turned their eyes white and they went kind of crazy before they eventually died. Now, one professor called that experiment a terrible study that was scientifically totally pointless and not to mention dangerous. Now, in China, since at least 2010, they've also been doing things like using robot farms to clone pigs for food in an automated AI system. Now, this is the same country that sent a scientist to jail for illegally gene splicing human DNA, resulting in the birth of genetically altered little girls. Now, gosh only knows what else is going on behind closed doors. In your view, do we need a proper investigation, dare we say globally, into the topic of what is going on in these labs in response to animal testing and genetic testing?
Absolutely, 100%, all over the world. I mean, I don't know if you read about the secret lab that was found in California that no one had any idea about, that had come from some Chinese-sponsored money. We only hear probably a tiny bit on the surface of what's going on. We have no idea as the public what is going on in these labs, the labs that are well known, the university labs, let alone secret, or military labs that are all around the world. So I think we're in a really, really dangerous territory, the way we're splicing genes around, mixing different creatures. And I definitely think there needs to be some proper investigation into it.